What the heck is disturb the eye? I feel like this is a very bad idea. So let's do it. Oh! The Guardians! Oh god, what are that? Oh no! No, 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 no! Oh no! Alright, well, we're starting off the episode like this. Holy crap! Oh, hey guys! Oh god! Oh, this is not good! Okay, that was... Oh, great, yes, thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Oh, boy. Ouch. Oh, boy. Okay. I wonder if actually the mining laser would work well on these guys. Nope, it doesn't. Alright, cool. Oh. Oh, boy. Sorry for the cold open, everyone. I was gonna do an intro, but I was actually gonna save it for later, a little bit later on, when I actually was figuring out what to do with the episode. But apparently... Ouch! Apparently I am doing this instead, so that's kind of cool. Alright, I have no idea what I actually get from this, but thankfully they try and lead you pretty aggressively, so... Oh, no, 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 no! Ow! Okay. Well, I did it. So, hey everyone, and welcome to No Man's Sky Part 27. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that was supposed to... I'm at a loss for words. Okay, so apparently this vigilant stone thing spawns guardians, and they assault you, and it's not good for your health. I was just trying to check out this fossil bed to see what sort of goodies we could get out of it, and I saw the vigilant stone, and I was like, that's interesting, I wonder what that is. And, yeah, that was... Oh, okay, this is just a display thing. Alright. Well, welcome to the episode, everyone. I was just trying to gather some materials to make some magnetized ferrite to continue the construction of one of the buildings in my settlement, because I didn't realize that the step that we did last episode was just the first level. I thought that would construct the whole building. So we are going, or rather I'm going to get some ferrite dust, get back to my base, and then I will refine the magnetized ferrite. I'll upgrade this the building here, and then we will work on progressing another part of the another part of the story that's a little bit more story, or another side quest, so that we can get to the main story missions and potentially finish off the series, because, you know, I believe that the Purge is the last of the Alone Amidst the Stars, or is it called the first? What's it called? I don't know. There is a quest line. I think Alone Amidst the Stars is what it's called. But the main story quest. That's the end of I believe that's the end of the main story quest. So, in that regard, so this episode is going to be the last of the side missions, and then next episode will be going and working on the Atlas path, and also just warping to get to the next area, or the next glyphs that I need for actual progression, because you need all 16 of the glyphs to activate another portal to get to the center of the galaxy. You can't actually get there just conventionally. So that will probably be either next episode or 2 episodes from now, is working on that. But this one is going to be focused on finishing up all of the side quests. So I'll finish up getting this magnetized ferrite refined, and I'll see you guys back here when I'm done with that. Okay, well, considering that we've got ourselves some time before that construction finishes, the base computer has completed its thing, whatever it was doing. So let's see if there's another corrupted archive that we need to go get, or if we can finally learn about what happened to the previous owner of the base. Automated archive recovery in progress. Archive for user, iteration lost, unavailable. Possible remote terminus backup available. Download coordinates. Okay, so we got more coordinates to follow. So I guess I will do that, and I will see you guys when I get there, so we can learn a little bit more about that situation. Alright, well I found this building here. Maybe this is where we're supposed to go? Maybe not. What is this? Is this a manufacturing? Oh, no, it is where we're supposed to go. Okay. Cool. I guess, this is an abandoned building. It just didn't look like it. It looked kind of more like a manufacturing facility again, but I guess not. Let's deal with this stupid plant if we can. Maybe? No? Also, I'm using the wrong multi-tool. Give me the one that I want. There we go. Alright, well, can't do anything about that, so let's see about this terminal. I've reached the location marked by my base computer. The remote archive terminal hums, awaiting my input. Access the memory. We see the Sentinels swarm across the void, warping in and out of this dimension at the will of some unknown force, depositing the echoes of the dead within the archives. Laylapse does not join the others. It just stares at me, its light still shining, unaltered, unabated. It is a comfort to me. Search physical cache. I searched the physical cache attached to the terminal. Whoever recorded this message also left a piece of technology. A decent toxic protection module. Alright, that's kind of cool. So how long exactly is it going to take? Okay, so I need to go back to the base to see what the archives are, and then it's probably going to be another 6 hours before I learn more about this situation. So, I'll see you guys back at the base to figure out if there is more to this than that. Or more to this mystery than what we've just learned, or how many more archives there are going to need to be for us to find. Alright, I'll see you guys when I get back. Okay, we finally made it back to the base, so let's have a look-see at our computer and see what they got for us. And more? How many more are there? Alright, I'm gonna look it up, because if this is just an infinite quest, then I'll stop doing this. If there is an actual, like, definitive end, then I will keep going to make that happen. Although I'll probably just, like, cut to each successive abandoned building, because coming back here literally just gives me the coordinates for the next building. It doesn't actually give me anything more of value. So I'll see you guys at that after I figure this whole thing out. Okay, next abandoned building. What do you got for us? Access the memory. The three of us journeyed to the center, the Sentinel, the First Spawn, and the Traveler, all children of the Atlas, all hoping for some answer in the void. The First Spawn would not stop talking, would not stop glorifying their cruel life of brutality and pain. One night, they sang a song, a tale of a lost people, of an armada of freighters fleeing the abyss. Of a world where every sentinel turned against every living thing, annihilating them all within moments. Laelapse showed no sign of understanding. It did not leave us, nor did it try and explain. Perhaps the sentinels were right. Search physical cache. I searched the physical cache attached to the terminal. Whoever recorded this message, piece of technology. Yep. Alright, to the next one. Okay. Next abandoned building. Ow. Oh, here we go. The first spawn fought valiantly, but there was no saving them. The nanites had found their place within, protruding outward through every pore, through every limb and every thought. And it was done. They departed with the family of glass, forever lost to this world, their story at an end. I ventured on. We were almost there. Okay. Interesting. I'll save my thoughts for when we actually get all of the logs and such. Hailing. Oh! You are not alone. You can't go to the center. You can't do this to us. You can't leave us. What? Insist you're going? No, you can't do this to us. You can't... The center of each galaxy. It's the Atlas. It's all else just interface. All else a shadow of its might. You don't deserve it. You'll wipe us all to save. Ask how they know. I did what I had to do. I told you that. I couldn't die without seeing everything there was to see. I did what I had to do, but the Atlas, it won't let me back in. It won't speak to me. It... Ask what Null did. I've committed such atrocities, Traveler. I had to. It was me or them. It's always been me or them. Please, if you go through the center, if you do what I did, it will reset everything. It will replace me, wipe me, all those souls that'll have died for nothing. It was the only way to live on. You have to understand me. Life for more life. They sustained me. It can't all have been for nothing. I was going to see it all. Screw you, dude. I tell Null that they are despicable. As Null cries, they try to justify their crimes. As Null cries, as they try to justify their crimes, I end the communication. There is nothing left but the path towards the center. So that's why Null has been around for so long. It seems as though Null has basically killed innocents and through some manner or another used their life force to sustain himself, or themselves, I suppose, because of their selfish attempt to see all of the worlds in the universe. In this universe, rather. But because it's an infinite multiverse, there simply is no way for them to have seen everything. Because that's how multiverses work. That if you consider an infinite number of multiverses, how could you possibly survive long enough to see them all? And if I'm right about him killing innocents to sustain himself, how much blood would have to be on your hands to sustain such a dream? 'Tis a good question. But at some level, I mean, we kind of knew that Null wasn't a great person, but now we know the extent of his depravity. He was basically... I'm gonna say he, because I assume, based on his demeanor, that he's a dude. It's not confirmed one way or the other, I don't think. But because apparently my brain interprets it this way, that's what I'm gonna say. So, while I go over this way, I will discuss my thoughts on this simply because it just happened. It seems that Null so we know that Null is the first traveler. That much has been made clear to us. But the thing that we don't quite know, well, actually, I mean, there's still a bunch about him, but what has basically just been revealed is that Null, Null wanted to see the universe. We knew that from the various logs and stuff, from the first traveler. And the Atlas said that there are like 15 quintillion planets, 15.4 quintillion planets in this one universe alone. And so it was impossible for Null to see all of the planets in this universe without dying. And so Null couldn't accept that. And so he said, he was basically like, screw you, I'm going to find a way. And so that comment that I made about Null being a robot, what it looks like happened is that Null basically forsake his organic body in order to become, a machine, effectively. And that way he could potentially live forever, and so then that would allow him to see all of the worlds in the universe. Ow. Ow, what the heck? I guess this must just be like really hot or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm getting distracted. However, as with all machines, Null requires a power source. And what it sounds like we have learned is that Null's power source is, what the heck, is organic life. He said life for life, which leads me to believe that he killed countless individuals, because we don't know how long he's been alive for. It just said that he was the first traveler, but we don't know the period of time that this takes place after what he has done. So, at some level, he could have... Oh, it was down there the whole time. Of course it was. So, yeah, at some level, he could have killed maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions of people to stay alive. We don't know. But what he has basically told us is that in his desperation to stay alive, to fulfill this extremely selfish and vain goal of wanting to see all of the planets in the universe, he killed so many people just to sustain himself. Now, so basically, because of that, the Atlas shunned him. Which is understandable. I mean, I would do that too. I mean, I'm doing that basically, I did that basically right now without being a omniscient, godlike entity. Anyway, let's read this terminal and I'll continue my thoughts on this. Something was very wrong. The Atlas interface had grown still, its orb cold and almost gray. The computers did not respond. Nothing did. It took a few moments before I realized that Laylapse was gone. I was alone. Oh snap. I searched the physical cache attached to the terminal, yada yada yada, more technology. So, what we learned is that Null has done these inexcusable things, all for the purely selfish goal of trying to see the entire universe before he died. Now, as we are on our as we are on our quest to get to the center of the universe, to discuss the Atlas and reset the simulation, Null tells us that resetting the simulation basically resets him and everything else that he has done. Which sounds like, you know, on the one hand, it's like, oh, well, we could bring everyone back that he killed for his own lust, for, you know, exploration. But, in his mind, he sees it as, oh, if you reset everything, then all the things that I have done will have been meaningless. Now, of course, he'll be reset, so he won't remember any of it, assuming that resetting the simulation even allows him to exist at all, which, who knows if it does. If he's an anomaly, resetting the simulation might, quote-unquote, fix him, and thus he would not exist at all. But he's basically saying, if you reset everything, all of the progress that I have made, all of the things that I have seen, will be set to 0, and all of those people I've killed to sustain my own life will have died for nothing. And so he is arguing that we shouldn't go to the center of the universe because he feels guilty about what he did, and he is upset that the Atlas will not talk to him anymore. But let's be honest, if the Atlas did talk to him at this point, what would, like, if you were a mass-murdering psychopath whose only goal was to explore, and you would do anything to further that goal, including genocide, and the creators of the universe spoke to you after cutting you off, what would you even say? Like, how would you defend yourself? Especially considering that the Atlas said that Null would not be able to see all of the universe in one lifetime. So not only has he perverted nature, but he's also gone against the creators of the universe in, like, one of the worst ways that you physically can. So, yeah, I mean, as with many of the other decisions in the game, because I have played through this before, I know what I'm going to do. But, and if you were paying attention to some of the clues that have been given in previous episodes, oh my goodness, excuse me. Specifically, I believe it is Existence is a Lie, which is, hang on, let me pull up the series real fast. Yeah, so part 18, I believe, is when we learn that the universe is a simulation, that nothing is real. In that episode, the game does actually give us a clue about what the quote-unquote correct answer to this whole thing is. Now, of course, because you're a player and whatnot, automated archive recovery in progress. Archive for user, iteration loss, unavailable, yada yada yada, follow coordinates, yeah. Okay. So, because of the way that the game is set up, they want you, you know, there's a choice, and they've given you context clues for the reasons for doing each choice. However, they are sort of attempting to steer you towards one choice over the other one. Now, I'm not going to reveal what my choice is, and I'm not going to talk about it too much, because I have a feeling that I'll give it away, but you know, you guys will have to stick around until that episode. And I will also, I'll do my best to have a save point so that I could potentially do both choices so you can see what happens. But for myself, I am going to do one particular thing first, and if we can, you know, load up another save and make the other choice, I will. But, yeah, so just stay tuned for that. But my final thought on this is Null was essentially cast out by the Atlas, and so he is now trying to manipulate us to allow him to continue making bad decisions simply because he himself cannot talk to the Atlas. And the final thing that the actually final thing that I'm thinking about is nowhere in what he told us did he say he was sorry for what he had done. And that, I think, is the kicker. Is his logic was you can't reset the simulation because all of the people that I've killed will have died for nothing. But nowhere did he actually apologize for the things that he did. So that's also going to motivate my decision. But, let me know what you guys think. If you've already figured out what I'm going to do, feel free to post it in the comments below. I would love to hear what your thoughts are, or if you figured out what I'm going to do based on the clues that I've given you so far. And yeah, I look forward to making that episode, but it'll be sometime before we get there. So I'll cut ahead to, or rather I'll go back to just looking at, what the heck? Looking at the abandoned buildings to see the lore and such. Why? This looks like a teleporter. What is this? Boundary failure. Okay. What the heck? Are you, like, interactable, or are you just lore? This is weird. Okay. Well, I'll see you guys at the base then. Alright, next building. Ow. There we go. I heard the music again this morning, that same signal that led me to this realm. I stood and listened, honing my instruments to find the source, expecting some different result. But what use was science here? If a computer is on fire, what good are the prayers of data? I mean, it's a fair point. I searched the physical cache technology. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the thought process that I have about these, like, we resist the Atlas groups. It's like, yeah, but, like, the Atlas created you, and also your existence, your very responses are pre-programmed, so your resistance is kind of meaningless. Kind of a cynical way of looking at it, but that's how I look at it. Alright. Next building. They had captured my friend. I saw them from a distance, the family of glass, in all their majesty, cradling the fallen sentinel, its light flickering in their awful embrace. I let out an involuntary cry as they cut into its exoskeleton, and each vacant stare, each grin of malice turned to me. I fled, but it was no use. They numbered in the hundreds. They found me. Damn. I searched the physical cache, technology. Great. That's kind of nice. If only I was using the shotgun. Okay, the terminal. It was Laylaps. Laylaps who I had doubted. Laylaps who I had harmed and fixed. Laylaps who was my salvation. It tore us both from that awful place, warping us back to the universe, to our universe. The first traveler in history to escape the world of glass, to be reclaimed from death itself. It is kindness that saves us all, don't you think? Laylaps told me everything, speaking through my very exosuit. I will see you soon, my friend, together at last. What tales they tell of us. I am transmitting the glyphs now. I can't wait for you to meet my new friends. Okay. Trace to fallen traveler. Is it done? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Oh. Archive for user iteration lost unavailable. Defragmentation continues. No relevant entries found. Data scraps available for synthesis. Collect data scraps. Archive defragmentation continues. Data scraps synthesized to create salvage data. Really? All of that for 2 salvage data? Alright, well... we did that. Okay. In that case, I am gonna leave this episode here. It looks... Actually, I'm gonna give you guys some thoughts on what I have to say about that. But the rest of these look just like optional objectives and not like story related. Obviously this one was optional as well, but this had some sort of story related. This is just collecting fossils for cosmetic like decorations and stuff. This is doing quests for the Nexus, but that doesn't actually do anything for the story. This is exploring planets, so that doesn't do much for me. Build a starship, don't care. Salvage experts, this is probably just money and items that I don't really need. The black hole could be good, but at some level it looks just like a warp. And this is basically just getting money. So in the next episode, we will finish the Atlas path, and then we will do a bunch of warps to get the glyphs, and we'll do the purge. Now, before I end the episode, I'm just going to go in my base so I don't burn to death. But before I end the episode, I want to talk about the data that we have recovered. So, we learned about this individual. Now, are they null? I don't know. I'm going to say that they are. Because they... So... And I'll explain why. But this individual... They managed to reprogram a Sentinel. And the Sentinel became their friend, somehow. We don't exactly know how. He reprogrammed it, I guess, but how no one else has been able to do that is unclear. He also found a Gek, the first spawn Gek, and, you know, we've already learned that the Korvax basically rebelled against... Well, they didn't basically rebel. They did rebel against the Gek. And sacrificed some of their own in order to convert the Gek away from the mass-enslaving, colonizing maniacs that they were into the mostly peaceful mercantile race that they currently are. So, you know... And that was revealed with the nanites on that one Gek that was discussed, that was, you know, mentioned. Now, they're talking about going to the center of the universe, and they know that they are children of the Atlas, so they must know what's at the center of the universe. Now, my guess is all travelers instinctively know this, because there must be some draw to the center of the universe. And I suspect this because even before we warped for the first time, when we opened up the galaxy map, there were coordinates to the galactic core. We didn't know at that time why the galactic core was valuable, but we knew that it was a destination, so there had to be a reason to go there. And then later on, at some point, the Gek leaves or dies or something like that, and the Sentinel, Laylaps, gets captured by other Sentinels and attempted to reprogram it. Now, the question is, why didn't it work? Because, as they have established in the archives, Laylaps comes back and saves the Traveler from... excuse me. Saves the Traveler from the world of glass. And this individual, who again we'll assume is Null, has said that they are the first Traveler to return from death. So, does that mean that the world of glass is some sort of afterlife, or something like that? I don't know. However, we know that it is some sort of place, and the Sentinels can go there, because Laylaps was able to bring him back, and it sounded like there were a lot of Sentinels who were there already. At the very end, it said that kindness was the key, and that kindness would overwhelm everything else. So, like, the Sentinels are programmed to destroy, keep the order, if you will, but they're programmed to destroy anything that violates the current order of the system. And the Traveler was able to reprogram this one Sentinel to essentially bring him back to life. Now, we don't know the process through which the Traveler died. That's, I'm sure, its own mystery that we may never solve. But the Traveler said that the kindness he showed towards Laylaps was part of what caused Laylaps to resist the reprogramming and save his life by bringing them back to the correct universe. Now, the reason I think this is null is it is heavily implied that they have not made it to the galactic core yet, and thus they have not spoken to the Atlas. And the reason that I think this is significant is because this Traveler has, starry-eyed visions of wanting to explore the universe and see everything, which is what Null wanted to do. However, this is before the Atlas told Null, or before the Atlas told Null anything. But more importantly, before the Atlas told Null that it was impossible to see everything in the universe before Null died. Now, I could be making a bit of a jump here, but I believe that because Null found a way to use the Sentinels to bring himself back from this world of glass, which I assume is death, it's possible that he turned himself into a machine so that he could bring himself back without the outside need of a Sentinel companion. Unfortunately, the tech that he found was imperfect, and so it still requires power source, like I had already discussed, and so that power source ended up being organic life, which goes back to my previous discussion on how Null basically slaughtered innocents to preserve his own existence. That's pretty much my thoughts on this. So these logs are basically Null before he speaks to the Atlas, and who we have met is Null after he's spoken to the Atlas. And so the fact that the Atlas told Null that he couldn't see everything in the universe in one lifetime shattered his worldview so aggressively that it basically corrupted his belief system about kindness being the key and turned him into a selfish, selfish, somewhat sadistic, basically mass murderer, hell-bent on defying the Atlas at every turn and seeing as much of the universe as he can. On that cheery note, I'm going to leave the episode here. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below, or if you've already played the game, we're far enough along that you can tell me how close I am to the reality of the situation. Don't tell me, specifics, because, spoilers are still spoilers, and I am just kind of, theory crafting at this point. Or, I suppose, hypothesis crafting. But I feel like that's how it works. So yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is probably going to be a shorter episode, because of the nature of the lore and such, but I don't want to, add more stuff on to distract from it. So I decided to make this one a little bit shorter. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you made it to the end of the episode, please consider to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and helps let YouTube know that this is stuff that people want to see. Once again, I do really want to thank you guys. You guys were clearly big fans of the Sentinel video, because both of those videos are now number 1 and number 2 videos of the series, which is really surprising because most of the time episodes 22 and 23 of a series don't do as well as, say, episode 1. So again, thank you guys for, you know, blowing up those episodes. I really appreciate it. I was very surprised when I looked at the analytics for those videos. So again, thank you guys, and if you want to see me do another video like that, I certainly can. I just don't know that I would be able to do it in a way that sort of recaptures that magic because it was sort of a new experience. But let me know what you guys want to see. Anyway, if you guys made it to the end of the episode, hopefully you were able to be entertained. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. It really means the world to me. And as always, take care of yourselves. Alright, bye.